Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today's problem? Broken light switches. These switches are FEIT, I don't know how you pronounce it, FEIT maybe? Purchased these as a pair from Costco a couple of years ago. In fact, I purchased 4 of them. This is the 4th one that's broken. This was number 3. This one broke about, I'd say a month ago. Maybe it's been a couple of months now. And I kept saying to myself, I really should replace this because once the other one goes out, it's going to be nothing but dark in here. But of course, one thing led to another, and now both of them are dead. Long story short, these FEIT brand switches, never buy. I've had 4 of them fail in probably 2 years. I'm going to replace them with these. It's got a on-off as well as a dimmer, which this one has on-off and it had a dimmer slider here. So same functionality. The important thing is that this can run LED or incandescent. I'll put out the initial disclaimer that anytime you're working on electricity, if you don't know what you're doing, and even if you do, you should probably turn it off. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today's one of the sometimes I don't. I apologize for the poor lighting. In order for me to show this, I have to kind of get in front of the light coming in from the window. Once you've taken the cover off, any switch, regardless of type, then has a couple of screws, top and bottom, that hold it into the box. So we just need to remove those. Remove them at the same rate, or close to, because typically they have a plastic thing or a fiber washer on the back that keeps them from just falling out of the switch. So, keeps you from losing them. I'll show you that here in a second. It's really grainy because of the low light. Sorry. But see this little plastic thing right here? That prevents that from pushing out. Let's see if I can find some more light. There we go, that's a little better. These switches have the wires integrated with them, and the wire nuts in the box are actually back behind this switch, so I've got to pull both of them out just to get to them. The new switch is more the typical where it's got different colored leads where you'll attach the wires. Alright, so the first thing to do is figure out exactly which wires do what. Of course, in this house, things never are quite standard. White is neutral, typically. And then, typically, black is your load wire. In this house, it looks like it is blue. So I have basically 3 of the loads, and then looks like probably the same. Yep, 3 neutrals. These neutrals go back to the ground plane in the basement. These 3, one of them brings power in, and then the switches are turning on and off that load going to the lights. So I can see both switches are hooked to this. So this one is the live wire that comes from the box. These 2 come off of the switches. What this means is if I disconnect this and then cap it, all of these others will then be dead. So I could disconnect this and then not worry about electricity while I work on the other 2, then reconnect this at the end. So now that I've disconnected that, all of the other wires should be dead. But let's prove that to ourselves. Since this house has rigid conduit throughout the house, that is actually a ground. So we'll connect one lead to that load wire. Then I'm just going to ground this to the box. So you can see that guy is live. Which means, obviously, don't touch it. We'll cap that off. Now I'll strip one of these and we'll check those, and they will be dead. Nothing. As expected. Also nothing. Okay, so we know that this is load. This goes to each one of the lights. So each switch is going to connect this to this, or this to this. So the load here is going to connect to the black, and then this gold colored one is going to connect to whichever one we want to turn on or off. So we'll connect up these first, and we'll connect some pigtails into here to both of these on the other one. This wire, I can either wrap around, so I can take the wire and I can wrap it around the screw and tighten it down. These ones also have these pockets here. We can push the wire in, tighten it down, and it'll clamp it on the inside. So that one's attached. I'll put them in this way, so the switch is on the bottom and the slider is on the top. It's not real obvious in the video, but it does say top right here. Now, I've got two options here. I could run a wire from here to here and here to here, which is easy enough. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go from here to here, then here to here. So the electricity flows through one wire down to here and over. It'll end up with a few less wires going into the box, a little easier to manage. So I need a small jumper wire that I'll put in from here to here, and then I can put another one from here to here. That's why they have two holes for each one of these terminals, to allow you to put in those jumpers. So I've cut two pigtails. The first one I connect the two switches together with. Take the pigtail from the first switch, put it into one of the holes here, and then take your second pigtail, put it into the second hole, and we'll tighten that down. Tug test here. Now all we need to do is connect this one wire to our load, and it'll energize both switches, which can then be used to turn on and off the lights. I'm going to use a new wire nut just because I like to replace them. Again, that's live. Tug them to make sure it doesn't pull out. I'm going to still wrap it with electrical tape to be sure. But now we should be able to turn on the switch. And sure enough, both lights turn on as expected. Tape that together. Now we just have to get it all back in the box. As you're pushing it back into the box, if you're still live, these screws are live, so be aware of that. Don't grab onto the switch and zap yourself. If you're using solid core wire, bend it in an S like this. It'll give it some points to bend on as you're pushing it back in. It's worth mentioning that if you're doing these square ones and you have a pair, they need to align pretty well with this. So as you're putting them in, you need to make sure they're straight. Because you can see it moves around. So if you end up with them in like this and it's not parallel, the cover won't go on. Make sure our cover fits. It does. There we go. Switch is installed. Thanks for watching.